And this game is over. Final score, the Warriors 134, Memphis 125. An historic night for Steph Curry. 52 points, 16 of 31 shooting, 12 of 20 beyond the arc, 8 of 8 from the line, 10 rebounds, 8 assists. And the Warriors not only get that, they move ahead of Memphis in the standings. As Golden State now 44-31, Memphis 44-32. The Warriors move up to the number 5 spot in the West.
Just an awesome game tonight. And you heard it all there. The stat line from the great Tim Roy calling every single Warriors game here on 95.7 The Game. A 52-burger, nearly a triple-double, and most importantly, in a game that the Warriors needed to get. They officially jumped the Memphis Grizzlies for 5th in the Western Conference. They own the tiebreaker head-to-head with the Grizz, and they outlast them in a shootout right outside, right off of Beale Street. Final score in this one, the Golden State Warriors beat the Grizzlies 134-125, and we're here to break this thing down. Warriors wrap up 95.7 The Game. Evan Giddings with you, with my guy Cam, rocking it back here. And where else do you start besides number 30? This was a game that the Warriors knew coming in, again, beginning with every single team in front of them in the standings. First tonight in Memphis, then on Thursday in Los Angeles, Friday against Denver, on Sunday against Houston. You have 5-4-3-2 ahead of you, and this was the first one that felt like you had to get. You can never count your chickens before they hatch. You can never count games or seedings before they come to fruition. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors, this was a put-up-or-shut-up game, and while it was one that I felt like they had to get, you could tell immediately they felt the exact same way. They come out, they score 45 points, a season high in the first quarter. They weather a Memphis storm throughout the middle portion of this basketball game, and then they close it out. And that's where, to me, Steph Curry comes into play because he shot the hell out of the basketball in the first half. He continued to shoot it down the stretch in that third quarter. He ends up with 12 three-pointers, is now the only man to have four games of 12 or more three-pointers, breaking a tie with Klay Thompson. He has 72 games of 40 points or more, which passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he has now 4 50-point basketball games after the age of 35. That is most in the history of the NBA. He basically took them to the finish line. And then over the last, I would say, 3 minutes and about 30 seconds, an 18-5 run headed by Jimmy Butler, the defense by Draymond Green, a timely putback by Brandon Podziemski, and the dagger three in the corner by Moses Moody helped put away the Memphis Grizzlies. This was a team effort led, obviously, by a surreal effort by Steph Curry. And for him to do what he did in this moment, in one breath, it's not shocking because he continuously steps to the plate and continues to hit home runs. And in the other breath, again, you think about the fact that he's 37 years old. Half of those now 4 50-point games since he has turned 35 have been after the age of 37. He had 56 in Orlando on 16 of 25 shooting. Tonight against Memphis, in the 75th game of the regular season, Curry goes for 52 on 16 of 31, 12 of 20 from 3, perfect at the free throw line. Also, by the way, had 5 steals. He was by far and away the best player in this game, a plus 17 in a game that they won by 9. And Steph got them to the finish line. He put them in a position for everyone else to help close this basketball game against a Memphis group that would not go away. Ja Morant, I thought, was awesome in this game. Jaren Jackson Jr., though he was in foul trouble and ended up fouling out down the stretch, I thought was extremely impactful in this basketball game. Zach Edey had 16 rebounds and was a plus 15. This was a Memphis team that was not ready to roll over despite losing 6 of their last 7. This was a Memphis group that was fighting for postseason position. They just fired their head coach, Taylor Jenkins, a few days ago, and they were a team that was ready to enact revenge against a Warriors group that, by the way, I know that the Warriors were a team that was expected, or they're favored to win this basketball game, maybe not expected to, but they had lost 6 of their previous 7 trips to the FedEx Forum. Memphis is a team that has had the Warriors number in the regular season at this venue. And tonight, the Warriors, especially Steph Curry, where remember, all the way back on December 19th, did not make a field goal against the Memphis Grizzlies, responds in the ultimate way at the start of April with a 52-burger. No April Fools about that. No jokes here. Steph dropped 50 on Memphis the next time after getting to the FedEx Forum and literally having maybe the worst game of his career. And he bounced back with one of the best games of his career in the regular season, considering the spot, considering the way that the game played out, considering the fact that, again, this was a back-and-forth ball game in which the Warriors just simply had to outshoot the Grizzlies. We can get into some of the breakdowns defensively. They obviously didn't have GP2 and Kuminga in this game. We can talk about whatever you'd like to. But the story of this game, make no doubt about it, it is Steph Curry. And it's what he continues to do at an advanced age that, again, 50 points now 4 times beyond the age of 35. Most of anybody in the history of basketball. LeBron James has only done it twice. Kobe Bryant has only done it once, his final game in the NBA. Michael Jordan has only scored 50 points in an NBA game one time beyond the age of 35. What Steph continues to do defies father time. And whether it results in a deep postseason run or a first-round flameout, I don't want to diminish what we continue to see from this man night in and night out. It's the reason why the GOAT conversations are being thrown up against a bulletin board and they stick. It's the reason why people are talking about him in rare air. Again, he passed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar tonight for most 40-point games, 72. He's now number 10 all time. You'll never catch Will Chamberlain. But the point is, the names that he continues to put himself in regards to the records, the amount of points, the three-point records that he continues to set, this guy is obviously one of one, but he seems to continue to find a way to push beyond the glass ceiling. You know, to take the Willy Wonka elevator, left, right, diagonal, up, down, and then take it through the glass roof when the Warriors need it the most. And that's why, to bring it back to reality, this is a game that if you're looking at Curry's performance, if you're looking at the way the Warriors won this game, it's why people are giving them a puncher's chance. Like, in all seriousness, it's why you cannot, and I think the rest of the league is not looking at the Warriors as a team that they want to face in the playoffs. Yes, Jimmy Butler is an awesome talent, and I thought that he was sensational, specifically down the stretch of this game, and we can get into his performance, especially in the final 2:20 of this ball game. Draymond Green had a triple-double, and I actually felt like when he went off the floor in the middle portion of this game, that's when Memphis began to make their run. What he did defensively was probably the only thing stopping the Grizzlies from laying an absolute flood type of offensive performance on the Warriors. He was the only reason they probably didn't score 140 this game. Draymond was awesome. You know, up until the very end, I thought that Podziemski and Moody looked like young kids in a playoff-type atmosphere, and their lack of experience showed a little bit. There's a lot of different facets to this game, but the fact remains the Warriors had to get it. Steve Kerr also showed you with how he played his stars, with how he played his rotation, that they needed to get this game. He essentially played 8 guys tonight. I know Kevon Looney played 10 minutes and he was the 9th, but it was essentially an 8-man rotation. Butler played 38 minutes, a game high. Curry played 36 minutes. Moses Moody played 35. Draymond, 32. You know, Post and Hield off the bench, 20 points. Hield, by the way, I know he had a couple of mishaps like he typically does, but played well down the stretch. Quentin Post was very good shooting it in the first half, struggled a bit in the second half. And then the rest of the team just did what it had to do to kind of fill in the cracks and the creases of just the opening that Curry created for them with an absolute just offensive performance for the season. They needed to get this game, and that's why even though he scored more points against Orlando, he had 56, he did it in a more efficient fashion. He had 56 points on 16 shots made, 25 total. I think you can make the case this is his best game of the season because not only did he have the 52, but he grabbed 10 boards, 9 of them defensive. He dished out 8 assists and only had 2 turnovers. And he also had 5 steals, which was a game high. He was 8 of 8 at the free throw line, led the way for a Warriors team that was 28 of 28 at the free throw line. Pretty good for a team that 2 months ago we were talking about being the worst free throw team in the NBA. And Steph grabbed this game by the reins right from the get-go, and then he, along with the rest of his squad, ended up taking it home and locked it up against the Memphis Grizzlies when they needed to. 888-957-9570. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. 134-125. The Warriors, now officially the 5 seed in the Western Conference, a place that I certainly did not foresee them getting to before the trade deadline And since Jimmy Butler has gotten here, he has found a way to extract the best out of just about everybody on this team, and most importantly, number 30, Steph Curry. 2 50-point games since Jimmy's gotten here. Half of the total that he's had beyond the age of 35, and now 2, which puts him to number 72 in terms of 40-point games across his career, passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He also, his 1550 burger overall puts him right beyond Rick Barry and only behind Wilt Chamberlain in terms of total 50-point games in the franchise of the Warriors. So rare air again that Steph Curry is in as he continues to mystify and defy his age and take it against players that are half his age, it feels like sometimes. Well, not literally half his age, but are in their mid-20s. You know, the fact that Ja Morant went for 36 is going to be just a byline in this game because Curry at age 37 is schooling a player, for the most part, that is 25 years old, that is 12 years younger than him. And Curry was still the best player on the floor. All right, Cam, if we can open up the phone lines again, 888-957-9570 is the number. Let's get out to Flashlight in San Jose. Wants to talk about the Warriors. Flashlight, what's going on? Welcome.
Hey, what's up, man?
How we doing, my man?
Oh, man, great win today.
No doubt.
But I want to talk about the keys that unlock the success with Jimmy Butler. He's doing the simple things, the small things. Right now, Curry's the number one option. In Miami, he was the number option. He's taking a back seat and just doing the simple basketball play, the high IQ play. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with you. Keep going.
No, that's what's unlocking this run right now. And that's why we're gonna get Chip. We're gonna get Chip.
I got you, Flashlight. Thanks for the call. Look, I mean, that kind of confidence is something that's understandable after a game like this. And I don't know if the Warriors can win a championship this year. I think the Western Conference is a bear, and they're going to continue again to play better teams, literally their next 3, because on a back-to-back, you get the Lakers on the road, Denver at home, and then Houston on Sunday. You get 4, 3, and 2 coming up, and that's why this was a game that I felt like the Warriors had to get. Just the way that it played out was awesome and was one of the best, if not the best, regular season games that we've seen so far this season. I think Curry's best regular season performance this year, even one-upping what he did in Orlando. But I think to your point, Jimmy Butler is someone that, first of all, I've never seen a player pass up as many what appear to be open layups or shots around the rim as Jimmy Butler. And you're right, Flashlight, it's because he's trying to find the correct shooter. He's trying to find the proper play. And to his credit, for the most part, that's what he does. I know that Jimmy Butler had a couple of turnovers in this game, but for the most part, even though he had 4 assists, he finds the hockey assist, the pass before the pass, opening things up for other cutters. And I think he just makes things a lot more simple. Curry, as great as he was tonight, and he showed off, there's no doubt. I don't know if he would have been allowed to get 31 shots off if it wasn't for someone like Jimmy Butler being on the floor. Butler only took 11 in this game, but because of the extra attention that he demands, it gives Curry just a little bit more daylight. And Curry doesn't need much, so just enough daylight to get that shot off. The 8-3 that he hit, I think, was the most impressive to me. It was in the third quarter, and Jimmy's walking across the timeline, literally turns around and shuffles it to Steph just because there he is. And Curry triggers it from 29, 28 feet, buries it, and it's one of those shots that you just go, there's no way. But when he's shooting, there's a way. And that's why your confidence about the championship, I'm not willing to go there yet. To me, I need to wait through the weekend to figure out if I can legitimately see this Warriors team winning 4 postseason series. But Curry in a performance like tonight is why you have to give them a puncher's chance in every single series. And I think also what the Warriors showed in the final 3 minutes really of this game is also why you have to give them a puncher's chance. It took Curry 52 points, essentially 50 because he got the last 2 free throws. But he didn't have a great fourth quarter shooting, a great shooting fourth quarter. He was 2 for 8. He admitted post-game, and we'll have that for you in just a moment, that he wanted to get in and try to break Klay Thompson's record. That's why he took a couple of quick threes. But he was making everything before that point. I thought he forced a couple, but there were 3-pointers that you're okay with Curry forcing. But in the final 3.5 minutes, the Warriors, they were down 4 after Jaren Jackson Jr. makes a 3 to put them up by 4 points, 120-116 with 3:38 left. And from that point, the Warriors just went on a roll. They not only got baskets easily, they got into the paint, whereas earlier in the quarter, they went 0 for 7 to start from three-point range, Curry included. But Pods is able to get inside on a back cut and a Draymond Green assist. Curry comes down and hits a 3. And then after Jaren Jackson Jr. makes a driving layup, Butler begins to make things easy. And this is where, as much as I love what Curry did tonight, he does need someone to help him close basketball games. Because what Jimmy Butler did was when the Warriors couldn't get an easy shot, he got to the free throw line. Not only did he get free points, but I would also argue that one of the most important plays of the game that Jimmy Butler made was with 1 minute and 55 seconds left. He gets into the paint, pump fakes on Jaren Jackson Jr., goes left, draws a foul, gets to the free throw line, foul number 6 on Jaren Jackson Jr. And that to me was where the game was essentially ended. The Warriors drew even and then boat raced them because Butler got their best defensive player, and I think their second most impactful player overall in the game, out. And he made 6 free throws in the final 2 minutes and 24 seconds. Of the Warriors' total points, that was 6 of their last 9 before Curry got to the end for a couple of gimme free throws and iced the game. But 6 of their last 9 points essentially in clutch time when the game was being decided were scored by Jimmy Butler, all of which at the free throw line. He had 10 points total in the fourth quarter of his 17 for the game. And that's where it took Steph 50 to get them to the finish line. And then Jimmy Butler helped them get across it. And that's where the Warriors become very scary to me as a playoff team. It isn't that overall, they're going to be bigger, faster, stronger than all of these teams. But to me, the way that Curry and Butler complement each other as co-stars, Butler's not going to be the guy to get you 50. At least it appears with Curry on the team alongside him. But he can be the guy that can help Steph close out games. If Curry can get it to the point where it's a 2-minute game, I like the Warriors' chances against the majority of opponents they're going to have to face in the postseason because Butler simplifies things offensively. Draymond Green can still summon that all-defense type talent, maybe even DPOY talent, depending on how the rest of the season goes. And Curry obviously is such a threat to not only hit big shots, but also draw enough attention to open up things for other players, such as a Moses Moody open corner 3 that can put the game away with a dagger. Podziemski coming in for an offensive rebound with the most important one of the game, I would argue, over Ja Morant, by the way. Those are the kinds of creases that he opens with the gravity that he creates. That's why the Warriors, to me, this particular lineup they have is so complimentary. And obviously they were missing GP2 and Kuminga tonight, but that 5 on the floor in clutch time, they have an opportunity to steal some games because they can do just enough. And I think it's not just because of one player. I think it's because of their big 3. Curry was the best player on the floor tonight. He had an incredible game. But you cannot discount what Jimmy Butler did in the final 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and you cannot discount the kind of defense and whole all-around effort that Draymond Green had in this game to help them get the win. They only won by 9, and this game was in the balance. They were down 4 with 3.5 left. All of them won this game together. 888-957-9570 is the number. Cam, let's get out to Shaka in Berkeley. Shaka, what's going on, man? How we doing?
What's going on, Evan? Boy, you on fire, man. Hawaiian lava, man. You on fire, man.
Appreciate it.
Hey, I liked it. I liken Butler to another San Francisco great. Joe Montana, man, because he slows the game up. He's the quarterback. He's slow. There's not so many errors. Everything is going slower. He's making the right passes. The right person is getting the ball. We're not going back and forth after turnovers. We look like a more experienced team, man. And those other players, like Moody, that's still against John Moran. Just him able to guard a guy like that gives us a chance to win, man. And the tip in about Podziemski, man, it was a total team effort, and we got the greatest shooter that ever lived, man. And he did what he does, man. He makes shots, man. So I think we play the Lakers Thursday, man. I think we're a game and a half behind them, so a win with there it gives us even closer to the 4th spot. So Everything's looking up, Evan. You're doing a great job, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Shaka. Go Vikings, by the way. Yeah, they got the Lakers on Thursday. I mean, I don't think it's possible to catch the Lakers. I mean, I guess if Los Angeles fell apart, potentially you could get the 4 seed. But you would need the Lakers to lose a couple more games, and obviously you would have to keep winning. I mean, to me, when I was looking at this 4-game stretch, I felt like this was one where you had to beat Memphis, not only to try and give yourself a shot, to be, I don't know, a team that could play for the 5, but also just to stay out of the play-in. If they lose this game tonight, then Minnesota's got an opportunity. The Clippers have an opportunity to tie them, and you put more pressure on winning 2 of the next 3, which if Curry's going to shoot it like this, you can't cut him out of any game. But odds are on a back-to-back against Los Angeles and Denver, you're probably going to lose one, if not maybe both of those games. And we'll find out. But then Houston on Sunday, that's also a game you might lose. Houston's playing really well, but the Warriors have had their number this year. And so that's a game that, again, in the next 3, the Warriors, to me, you would like to get greedy. You would love to see them get 2 of these next 3, but they really, I think, only have to get 1 in order to still be in a position against weaker opponents upcoming, really up until the very end of the season when they play the Clippers. You have Phoenix, who's playing better basketball, but this is a Warriors team that if you could just get through this 4-game stretch against 5-4-3-2 in the standings, now you're the 5, but you're going to be in a much better position going 1-3. That might almost guarantee you that you're in the play-in because Minnesota's got a soft schedule. I think the Clippers are good enough to be even with you. And then you put all that pressure on you winning the final regular season game against the Clips in order to secure the tiebreaker and potentially keep yourself out of the play-in, if not the 8 seed. So this was a massive game. And again, the Warriors, and I think Steve Kerr, with how he deployed his core 3, his older players, was telling you that this was a game that they had to win. Curry played 37 minutes. Jimmy Butler played 38 minutes. And Draymond Green even played 33. All of which at the 5 for the most part. I mean, it was pretty much just him subbing back and forth with Kevon Looney. And one quick note on that, even though you look at the minutes total and you say, yeah, 33 is not that much. In the playoffs, he's got to play more. That might be correct. But Draymond has typically not played this amount of minutes at the center position alone. And tonight, he was going up against Zach Edey, 7'4", 305 pounds. Jaren Jackson Jr., who's a load in of himself, 6'10", 250 pounds. The Memphis Grizzlies are a big, strong, athletic team. And while I don't think that they're particularly well coached, neither were they before they fired their head coach, this is a team that is going to test how physical of a basketball team you are. It's a group that's going to try and get you up and down, that is going to beat the hell out of you, that shoots the most free throws than anyone in the NBA because they get to the line, because they put pressure on the rim and they force you to defend. This is not an easy Memphis team, though they've lost 6 of 7 to beat. So I thought the Warriors, it was a game that was going to test them. Obviously, they passed this test tonight. They now own the head-to-head tiebreaker, and they put themselves in a position where they could lock up the 5 seed, or potentially, maybe the most important part, I should say, is just stay out of the 6. If you get 2 out of the next 3 against these top-tier opponents, you put yourself in a very good position to not have to play-in tournament basketball, or to play play-in basketball, which is what the Warriors have said is the goal. The 6 seed is the goal. I think also, just looking at kind of the barometer games, this one, Memphis was at full strength. You could very easily make the case that this was the Warriors' best win so far of the Jimmy Butler era, essentially, since the deadline, because everyone's been poking holes in, well, this team didn't have this. This player sat in this game. The Warriors had an advantage here. But you can't really poke any holes in this game. Curry needed 52, and Butler needed to score 27, Draymond Green 13. The big 3 in and of themselves nearly had 100 points between them, 99 to be exact. But this was one that the Warriors, they beat a full-strength team on the road. And it's their first of 4 games in 6 nights, but it doesn't diminish how impressive it was. They're going to have to be better, I think, to beat the Lakers. They're certainly going to have to be better to beat the Nuggets. And Houston is a team that's no slouch in and of itself. But this was the game that I think in order to prove that they could elevate themselves and put themselves in a position, again, to challenge for non-play-in basketball in the West, These are the kinds of games that you have to win, and they did it. For the 510, Evan, I thought this was just as important. I thought just as important as the Jimmy Butler sixth foul on Jaren Jackson Jr. was the reverse foul to Jackson from Butler in the first half. You're right. I also think that the fact that the Warriors were able to tag him with a couple of fouls in the first quarter in of itself, that's when they made their run. The Warriors only ended up leading by 13. I thought they could have been up by close to 20 after the end of the first, because when Jaren Jackson went out with the second foul around the 6.5 minute mark, they immediately jumped out to their 17-point lead, the biggest of the game. And then you notice the moment that Jaren Jackson Jr. came back, and when Draymond Green had to go to the bench in the second quarter, the lead that was at around 10, about double digits, immediately shrunk to 2. And so, Jaren Jackson Jr. and his foul trouble was a big part of this game. And that's something that the Warriors weren't able to do before Jimmy Butler got here. To your point, 510, switching it from Jackson to Butler, that's because Butler's someone that can force you to foul, that forces you to have to foul with how he gets to the rim, with how smart he is, and even with some of the stuff he does defensively. And that matters. Not only just the foul trouble, but the fact that the Warriors could get to the free throw line 28 times. They shot 6 more free throws than the number 1 free throw shooting team per game in the NBA. And you might not be able to account for hitting all 28, which is what they did, but the fact remains they got to the free throw line 28 times. They held the Memphis Grizzlies, who get to the free throw line about 23.5 times per game, to just 22. That, to me, is a little bit of the Jimmy Butler effect. All right, Eric's out in Millbrae. 888-957-9570. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Warriors 134, Grizzlies 125. Eric, what's going on, man? How we doing?
What's up, man? Yeah, great win tonight, although obviously it's great that the Warriors got the win. I just don't like that they need to struggle, because Memphis, even though the record looks good, obviously they just fired their coach. They've been getting their heads kicked in by good teams. And so the fact the Warriors needed another classic Curry performance with Butler and Draymond and the bench to really play heavy minutes, hopefully that's not a sign of things to come, because they got this one, which is massive, but you still got these next 3 games are going to be even tougher tests here. Obviously, you got the Lakers, you got Nuggets, and obviously Houston. So these are three elite upcoming teams. And so as far as tonight goes, you did handle your business. Curry was brilliant as usual. Butler, as you mentioned, timely shots there. Draymond was incredible. I just hope that they don't wear these guys out, because they're going to need to play them heavy minutes these next 3 games to really pull these wins out against three of the elite teams in the West. So I hope they really can buckle down and maybe get a big lead, and so they can utilize the bench more, don't have to wear and tear the heavy starter minutes, especially Draymond, Butler, and Curry. And so I'm hoping Podziemski, I want to see more plays like him. That was clutch, getting that tip in over Morant. I thought that was pretty much the ball game there. So yeah. They got the win, which was the biggest factor of all. But I just don't like that they allowed a team like Memphis, who really has been struggling against the better teams in the league, to really hang around. They needed clutch shots from Curry all game and Butler, Draymond. So I just hope that Curry really locks these guys in, because the next 3 games are going to be much tougher than against this Memphis team, who's really reeling at this point. So I'm just hoping the Warriors can really find a way to really maybe win out to at least get 2 of these 3 games, and maybe you get some help from some other teams and you can move up to the 4 seed, because I think the Warriors really want to get that 4 seed in home court, especially if you play the Lakers. Because let's face it, even with that Davis gone, you're still going to have Lakers are a very tough matchup for them. So if you're the Warriors now, you want to finish strong, and hopefully the Lakers can slip up a little bit and you can move up to that 4 seed. So Thursday is going to be even a massive game in LA. So Warriors got to lock in. Hopefully they're going to be well rested, because we know the Lakers are going to be locked in to really win that game. Because if they win that game, I think they're in great position to really lock up the 4 seed, even move up if Denver falls off. So I can't wait, though. Great win tonight, but we got to see them play even better on Thursday night. That's going to be a huge game. So thanks for the time, man. Curry, game ball to him, man. Guys, still the best show in sports. Thanks.
A lot of great stuff, Eric. Yeah, to piggyback off of that, it's 100%. I don't think it's really even close. Like, the best entertainers in sports, it's Steph Curry, and then it's everyone's in second place. I don't think when he's got it going, there is not a better show in sports. Baseball, maybe you love to watch Shohei Ohtani. In the NFL, perhaps it's Patrick Mahomes. Or this year it could have been Saquon Barkley. He is an awesome show for the Eagles. But in the NBA, it's bar none, it's Steph. And because of just how quickly he's able to pour in shots from every single area on the floor. And tonight he had 12 threes, but he can also get to the rack. I mean, he was being crushed in this game. And that's, to me, while I don't want to label it a playoff game, to me, it felt like the Warriors were playing a must-win kind of game. Curry knew that they had to get this game. And the playoffs were a different type of energy, but I also thought it was kind of officiated a little bit like a playoff game. I mean, Curry was getting hounded and hit left and right. I thought the Grizzlies were probably a bit more favored in that kind of matchup. And to your point, Eric, against bigger teams, Los Angeles, who they got on Thursday, is a bigger team. Denver, obviously, poses a lot of problems with their size. And then Houston, while they're young and inexperienced, they're also a very long and sizable group. But Curry's going to continue to take these shots. And again, that's what makes what he did tonight, along with what he has continued to do as he's gotten older, that much more impressive. And I mean, Curry, the amount of work and dedication that he's made to his body, I think it's understated a lot just because we don't know the kind of work that it takes to go into keeping himself healthy. But I don't know if we also have an understanding of how much work it takes to keep him as strong as he is. Because he gets freaking abused sometimes. And not only does he not always get the call, rarely it feels like, but he uses that to almost fuel him. Like there was a play in the second quarter where he was walking Scottie Pippen Jr. up the floor, it felt like, for 50 feet. And Pippen was, I generally don't agree that every single time Curry goes to the floor, it's a foul, or every time he gets hit, it's a foul. But Pippen in this particular possession was all over him and just grabbing him from behind and trying to poke the ball loose. And instead of complaining or flopping, Curry essentially, with a guy in his hip, walks him to the free throw line, step back, fades away, and drains a jump shot in his eye, and then glares at the ref. Like, that's the kind of performance that Curry can put together, in addition to the awe-inspiring and kind of mystical arc of a 3-point 35-footer that'll make. He's also the guy that can get physical enough with a player that is literally 12 or 13 years younger than him and still be physical enough at age 37 to handle that kind of wear and tear. I do have some questions, Eric, to your point about how much of a toll it's going to take, not just on someone like Curry, but also on Draymond Green. Like I highlighted earlier, I think 33 minutes at the center position, at the 5 in particular, that's a very strenuous 33 minutes. Like, just because he didn't play as much as Jimmy or Steph doesn't mean that doesn't take its toll on Draymond's body. And Jimmy Butler is also above the age of 35. And this is a guy that has not played a ton of basketball this year, but still, as things continue to get deeper into the season, he's someone that said that just because he's only played 40 games this year doesn't mean that he still doesn't feel it the next day in his legs. So the fact that their big three, their core players, are as old as they are, gives me a little pause that they can continue to do this, not just for another 2 weeks to get to the regular season, but then the 2 months required after that to try and make a championship run. And teams are going to try and hammer them. They're going to try and beat them to a pulp, the same way that Memphis did tonight. But if Curry can stand up to that, if Jimmy and Draymond, along with the rest of the Warriors, can stand up and handle that physicality, that's something that gives you hope. And that's why, as much as you're right, the Memphis Grizzlies, look, if you want to really break this thing down, they're 11-24 now against teams above 500. They have not been able to beat the best teams in the NBA. But you also mentioned something, Eric, that I do wholly believe is true in the NBA, and that's matchups matter. And that's why I think that Memphis, in particular on the road at FedEx Forum, has been a bad matchup for the Warriors. Typically, the role players play a little bit better at home, but then Memphis is such a big team, they're a physically imposing team, that they can just hammer players and they will test your physical limits. That's why I think that they're, and have been, because they've beaten the Warriors 6 out of the last 7 times in Memphis, going back to 2021. I think they are a little bit of a matchup problem for the Warriors. And the Warriors, at least for tonight, were able to overcome that matchup issue, in my opinion. And it took 52 from Curry. But in the postseason, you're going to need elite performances. You're going to need Hall of Fame type of talent to carry you through. We've seen it time and time again. The amount of big games that Steph Curry has had, that Draymond has had, that even Jimmy Butler in other locales has had in the postseason. They're going to need these kind of performances tonight if they're going to go deep in the playoffs. But that's why the fact that Curry can still summon this 2 times already since Jimmy has gotten here in terms of 50 burgers, that gives me reason to believe that you have to give them a puncher's chance in the postseason. And they're going to play Lakers, Nuggets, Rockets. All 3 of those teams are better than the Memphis Grizzlies. They have played better all year than the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, to me, I feel like the Warriors are in a position now to continue to prove that they can elevate their level of play. And this is a win they had to get. I thought it was impressive. 888-957-9570 is the number. Vince is in Austin. Vince, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. I'm doing much better after watching that performance from the Warriors tonight. Curry, absolutely majestic. He continues to just wonder if I can't even, comprehend a word to describe the way he's playing. And of course, we all know how it feels to play pickup basketball and have sore knees or legs the next day. But the things that this man is doing at age 36 is he's basically rewriting the game. And another point is the Warriors are such a lethal team right now because they're winning games and not getting the whistle. So just imagine, when they get more of a friendly whistle and they're able to, I just think if they play without turnovers and they spread the ball around, I don't see another team, maybe Denver, you can do a coin toss with Denver, but the Lakers, the Lake Show, they're still adjusting. The Lakers are still adjusting their formula. They're still trying to figure things out. The Warriors right now, it's a scary team. I would not want to match up with the Dubs this offseason. And a couple of huge games coming up, but everyone needs to stay healthy. I loved Podziemski's performance tonight. Not the best night shooting the ball. I'll always say, Podziemski's an amazing player. He's not an amazing shooter, but he stayed hard-nosed and aggressive all the way through, diving on the floors, soaring in for rebounds. He's a difference maker. I hope Kuminga comes back strong. Obviously, he hasn't played enough this season, but I'm watching the Warriors, and the most impressive stat of the night was 28 for 28 free throws. Who had that on their bingo card? I mean, that's a ridiculous stat. You go 10 for 10, 20 for 20. That's cool. That's amazing. But 28. So I have the most confidence in this team at this point than I've had all year. And Curry, he just continues to amaze. So, and he's not done yet. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Well, no, he's not done. He's got a few more games left in the regular season, and then hopefully the playoffs. But the thing about Podziemski and Moody, like to me, in a perfect world, those aren't guys that you're relying heavily on because I think that they have some limitations, and maybe most critically, they're young. They don't have a lot of postseason experience, and I don't know how they're going to play in a big game down the stretch. I actually thought that the reason why this game was so close, the Warriors had to play a lot of their starters. I mean, they, again, basically played 8 guys tonight. Kevon Looney was the 9th man. He played 10 minutes and basically just ate up the minutes that Draymond wasn't on the floor. But Podziemski and Moody for a lot of this game, I thought looked overwhelmed. Up until the very end when they made a couple of, to their credit, critical plays. Podziemski had the biggest offensive rebound of the game when he came in for that putback. Moses Moody hit a massive 3 to essentially put the game out of reach, to put him up 8 with 40 seconds left. But overall, I thought they looked closer to being young, inexperienced players, particularly Pods tonight. He didn't play that well. But Moses Moody had trouble trying to guard John Moran. I think that the amount of shots in general, like he had a couple of nice takes, but he's not been a volume knockdown 3-point shooter. And the Warriors really only have one of those at this point, and his name is Steph. I know that Quentin Post took 9 threes tonight, but to expect to get a 5-for-9 performance in a big game from him every single time is a lot to ask, I think, of a rookie. He also only played 20 minutes tonight. Buddy had some timely shots, but was 2 for 7. I think Moody and Pajemski, those are guys that are going to be relied upon come postseason time as starters. And you're going to need them to make more plays than not. I also think that other teams are going to try to force them to make more plays. And how they respond in big moments is going to tell me a lot about how far the Warriors can go. Because on a game like tonight, and I think how most people view this Warriors team is like the blueprint is however far Curry, Butler, and Green can carry them is how far they're going to go. And that's generally what I believe, which is also why I'm a bit apprehensive about this idea that they can just run the table in the West, because I find it difficult. Like, that would be the oldest core ever to essentially just not waltz through, but win 3 series and then win a 4th. A team with a core of 35, 36, and 37-year-old players as their best players has not done that. The Spurs are probably the closest comp, but obviously Kawhi Leonard was in his early 20s. So what the Warriors are trying to do would be historic. And I think the latest seed or the lowest seed to ever win a championship was the 6th seed as the Houston Rockets. But if the Warriors can take care of business in the next 3 games, especially having played 4 games in 6 nights, against 4 of the top 5 teams in the West, or now 6 teams because they jumped Memphis, how they play against these groups is going to tell us a lot. And I think a game like tonight is absolutely a confidence builder, because it was a game you had to have. I don't know if the game against the Lakers is a game you have to have, but then that puts more pressure the night after against Denver at home. Puts more pressure on the game at Houston or versus Houston at home on Sunday. The Warriors are playing, I think, maybe not playoff basketball, but they're playing taxing basketball at the level of potential postseason matchups. And however long the Warriors can keep this up, and mainly their best players keep this up, that's the biggest question I think they have to answer. Can Steph Curry continue to play? Maybe not at this level tonight, because this was one of his best performances arguably ever in the regular season. But can Jimmy Butler continue to play at this level for the remainder of the year? And then in the playoffs, can Draymond Green summon this level of play again and again and again? It's going to be taxing. And that, to me, is my biggest concern about the Warriors. I don't know if other people, especially our last 2 callers calling in, looking at this game, seeing what Memphis did to them, what the Warriors are able to do to them. How are you kind of reading this right now? How are you feeling about Golden State after this win? It's a huge one. Make no doubt about it. They had to get this game or they would be swimming at about sea level. And right now, Denver and Minnesota are in the middle of a back-and-forth affair. But if the Warriors had lost this game tonight, Minnesota's got an opportunity to tie them. And then you're level. Now they have the tiebreaker with the Timberwolves, and now they have the tiebreaker with the Grizzlies, which is both huge. But the Warriors would be fighting for that 6th seed as opposed to have just a little bit of breathing room, which is not something that they can say that they have had for the majority of this year. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. 134-125 Grizzlies lose to the Warriors. Golden State officially the 5th seed in the Western Conference. 2 games back of the Lakers for 4, with the Lakers, of course, hosting Golden State on Thursday at Crypto.com. Let's go to Bob in San Francisco. Let's talk about Curry and the refs. Bob, what's up, man? How we doing?
Hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm doing great after that win. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
I just want to talk facts a little bit here, not opinions, right? We've been watching Steph like the last decade plus not get the calls. People have opinions, say that maybe we're being babies as Warrior fans, but like Jokic, I know last time I checked, has been to the line in the 24-20-25 season over 740 times this year, right? And Steph's, I think, just approaching 300, right? So many, many, many more. SGA gets to the line something like 9-10 times a game. LeBron, I mean, it's just facts. And we all see him like we did tonight with the other team being handsy with him, all game long and him not getting the calls. So and then other guys like Pajemski were getting called for being handsy and things like that. So to me, that's just facts. The stats don't lie.
I got you, Bob. Yeah, the whistle on Curry. Yeah, I think it was highlighted a bit more tonight just because of the amount of time that he was on the floor or kind of getting checked. I mean, in regards to the whistle, like, is it unfair? Perhaps. But again, Bob, another fact about tonight is as a team, they got to the free throw line 6 more times than the Grizzlies. I mean, for a team that supposedly gets a bad whistle, they were +6 in free throw attempts. I think they were +8 in terms of free throw makes in this game. So they did a better job than the Grizzlies at +9 in terms of points off of free throws in this game than Memphis, a team that, again, to reiterate, is number 1 in terms of free throws attempted per game. So whether it's a bad whistle or not, the Warriors were obviously able to overcome that. But in regards to Steph, there really aren't a lot of point guards, smaller ones, like of Curry's stature. Yes, SGA gets to the line more than Jesus himself, it feels like, but he's also 6'5", 6'6". He also, and this is something that to his credit, which is what I like about Curry's game, in addition to everything else he brings as a player and a human being, he doesn't really foul bait. Like, he doesn't. I mean, he'll try to occasionally. I think he does it more on 3-point shots when he's trying to highlight contact and players hitting his hand on shots. But in terms of getting into the lane, I don't think that, and maybe I'm wrong, feel free to call in and let me know. I don't think Curry's a grifter. Like, Jimmy Butler is by far more of a foul grifter than Steph Curry is. And you see how he's rewarded by doing that. I also think that Jimmy is someone, and it's one of the reasons why I feel like when you watch him and you see the amount of times he passes out of the air or passes out of a jump stop in the post, it's because he knows he can't get an angle to get to the free throw line. Like, one of the reasons why Jimmy doesn't take a ton of shots is not because he doesn't want to or can't. Well, not because he can't. It is because he doesn't want to. It's because he realizes that either he's going to get to the free throw line or he's going to take the highest percentage shot possible. Steph is not someone that's, I think, trying to highlight every single itch and scratch that he's taken from opposing teams. I also think because of his stature and how tall he is, that you're just not going to get as many calls, and it's going to look like you're getting bruised and battered by particularly big men, when you're going up and getting hit. The only other player in the league that's of Steph's size that really shoots a ton of free throws is Trae Young. And that guy is a grifter. He's a baiter. Jalen Brunson is another one that I think is top 10 in free throws attempted and is about 6'2". I think Brunson's the kind of guy that also tries to seek contact. Curry doesn't do that. And so I'm not saying that he doesn't get a bad whistle, but he's not like the other players in the league at his stature that attempt to get to the free throw line just by seeking contact. At least that's the way that I see it. But overall, a really good win for the Warriors. And speaking of Steph Curry, Cam, do we have him in his postgame? This was on TNT or NBC Sports Bay Area. Steph Curry after the game. Here he is.
Steph Curry's 50 burger. Speaking of his 50 burger, he stopped by to speak to Fitz and Buki out in Memphis.
All right, Steph, you don't make a field goal in December in this building, and you leave tonight with 52. I bet that wasn't on your mind at all.
Actually, it wasn't.
Really? Come on.
I told you I got amnesia.
Yes.
That's why you keep shooting. But thanks for reminding me. Obviously, this is a different part of the year, different team, different stakes on the line, and for us to start the way we did, that's the most important thing against Memphis. When we get off the slow starts, they get to control the tempo. They have us reeling, and then it's usually never a good outcome. So we were very intentional in that first quarter. Obviously, shots got to fall, but that set the tone for the whole game.
And you also had the 8 assists, Steph. How hard is it for you when you're having such an incredible game like that, where the flow is there, you're in that flow state, to still think the game and make the right basketball play as guys are jumping out at you all over the place, making those right passes?
It's a balance, just like you said. You have to stay aggressive, especially when I was hot like that. There was a couple possessions in the beginning of the fourth where I wanted to see how really hot I was. And then after that, you kind of settle down and just get good possessions. We got that three, the relocation three I got in the corner was off a swing, drive and kick. The three Mo got, even if it's not my assist, getting the ball moving is always great when I demand a lot of attention.
How aware are you of threes made in a game when you start getting close to that record at 12 and Clay's still sitting there at 14?
That was the first 2 threes of the fourth quarter. I definitely was thinking about Clay in Chicago. This is as close as I've been with the amount of time left. But then after that, reality check. We got to win the game, so you don't want to sabotage anything.
Steph, you made 8 of 8 free throws. It could have been 16 for 16. But I always say you're the most mentally tough player in the NBA because of the lack of a whistle, whatever you want to call it. But what's it like in a game like this where you're playing this well? It seems like there's a lot of contact happening. How do you just avoid being frustrated and continue to play like you do time and time again?
It's my reality. I've been in this situation for a long time. It's like a playoff game. Like, you have to adjust to what how the game's being called. You can have a reaction, but you don't want to let it distract you from what the task is. So I think trying to stay as even keel as possible. That doesn't mean you're passive or giving into it. You're kind of fighting through it and not looking to get bailed out, even though you feel like it's not going your way.
We've talked a lot about Draymond and Jimmy Butler and their tandem defensively and things like that. How about you and Jimmy as a closer, with Jimmy 27 tonight, 12 of 12 from the line, having him as a tag team partner, knowing that 9 guys can't guard you all the time?
That's why the trade makes so much sense for us, and why the results have been there ever since. It's a great tandem in terms of, like you said, 2 different styles. And, when we're locked in and have good spacing, he demands a lot of attention. He always makes the right play. Like you said, he can get to the line because he's such a presence. He knocks him down. And then, yes, sir. Come on, big time, baby. And, even on the defensive end, the steal he had on Ja down the stretch was just high IQ basketball. Like, we love playing meaningful games. Coach said it before the game. This is a meaningful game. All the rest of them down the regular season are going to be like that. So for us to be able to step up the way we did, total team effort, but I like me and Jimmy leading it.
All right, we'll let you go with the most serious question. Is Kevon Looney not getting enough three-point looks?
It's 2025, We gotta stretch out the playbook, I guess, and set some pin-ins for Tune to get his threes up. I like where he's at right now.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks for stopping. 52, 10, and 8 for Stephen Curry in Memphis. Yeah, he didn't know he went 0 for 7 the last time he was here. He said that with a straight face.
Right.
So Curry brings out the crowd here in Memphis. The Warriors, they get the win. They own the tiebreaker. And it's off to L.A. to complete the longest road trip of the year.
Yeah, a couple of things. Number one, Kevon Looney back-to-back games with a three-pointer, putting his name in the hat as the new Splash Brother. Secondly, I don't think it's a coincidence that Curry had this kind of game, again, off of the performance or lack thereof that he had the last time he was in Memphis. December 19th, they got waxed. Curry was a minus 41 in that game. He went 0 of 7 from 3, 0 of 7 from the floor, 0 of 6 from three-point range. And the next time he goes to the FedEx Forum, he drops 52, 10, and 9 on 16 of 31, 12 of 20 from three-point range. I mean, it's just... It's unreal, the stuff that he continues to do. And yes, he look, I think his compliments about Jimmy Butler are well-deserved. In a game like this, obviously what Jimmy did is going to be on the back burner. What Draymond Green did is going to be on the back burner. The rest of the contributions that the team made, including Kevon Looney 3, is going to be on the back burner because of how incredible Steph Curry was in this basketball game, specifically shooting it from 3. But like I said earlier, it cannot go understated. The ability that Jimmy Butler has to help the Warriors close games like this. If the Warriors did not have him, I don't believe they win this game. Curry might have still gone for 52. He might have hit more. I don't know. There was a point in this game where you're thinking that Curry might have to break the record to win this sort of game. Until the very end, when Jimmy Butler, with his ability to, like Curry said, get a big strip on John Morant, force contact and foul out Jaren Jackson Jr., make 6 free throws in the final 2 minutes and 28 seconds, and score 10 points in the fourth quarter to help you win this game. he helped them get over the finish line. Curry took them there. If this is a 4x1 race, Curry might have ran the first 3 legs. Like, he didn't need someone else to run the 100-meter dash with him. He ran the first 75. He might have ran 95 meters, but he gave the baton to Jimmy Butler at the very end, who helped them get to the finish line and get over it. And that's a template that I see having some sustainability if this team, at its advanced age, can remain and basically, battle through the fatigue that I felt like was wearing on them in this game. Especially to start the fourth quarter, you look at the amount of shots that were taken by both sides, by the way. This wasn't just a Warriors problem. The Warriors and the Grizz both looked gassed at the beginning of this fourth quarter. They together, through the first 5 minutes, I think started 6 for 25 combined, and both teams did not make a three. They were 0 for 14. And you could just tell, watching them get up and down the floor, there were weak legs. Shots were short. They were off right. Guys weren't hustling for rebounds. Those 50-50 balls are basically rolling on the deck. Rebounds were hitting the deck because everyone was tired. And while Butler is gassed, Draymond might be gassed, Pods, everyone else, Curry's just out there sitting on the bench. He's sitting there, and he doesn't have to come in until about the 8-minute mark because the remainder of his team can be propped up and helped by Jimmy Butler, who are battling through this fatigue, who are able to fight the stamina and allow Curry to get the extra rest to help them down the stretch of this game. I think what Curry, Butler, and Draymond are able to do as a trio, that's going to determine how far this team is able to go. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Before we hit a break here, let's go to Adam in San Francisco. Wants to talk about the chef. Adam, what's up, man? How we doing?
Hey, Evan, good to hear from you again. Appreciate you getting me on. Do want to obviously talk about Steph, but a couple of stats I wanted to point out tonight. How about 28 of 28 from the free throw line? I can't name it, but that's got to be one of, few times this year we've gone perfect from the free throw line. And so that was amazing. Total team effort, obviously Curry's heroics. I mean, he's the GOAT. I can't. He has what does he have? He's surpassed LeBron with the most 50-point games of all time. He's the first player in NBA history, I think, to have the 50 points, 10 rebounds, 5 steals, 5+. I mean, the fact that he's doing this at age 37, what he continues to show to be able to do, just shows how great he is. And we're just so thankful that we were able to draft him. Thank you again to the Minnesota Timberwolves from all those years ago for taking Flynn and Rubio. We appreciate you. It's just incredible what he's able to do. We almost had 2 guys with triple doubles tonight, with that also being Steph. Just so many good contributions. It's just incredible what he's able to do. I just had a really quick question that I saw something online that Jimmy had tweaked his ankle, but he looked okay towards the end of the game. I just wanted to see if that was just a minor scare.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it so far. We'll see. I would probably expect Jimmy to be on the injury report, on Thursday, but it'll be questionable. The fact that he was able to stay in the game and, again, play the most minutes of anybody in that game, 38, it's impressive. It shows how much of a dog he is, and it shows why the Warriors believed that he was the man that they needed at the trade deadline. Simply put. It's why I think Curry loves playing alongside him, because he knows that he wants to win just as badly as Steph and Draymond. And he's someone that has been in those foxholes at a very high level. Not as high as Steph and Draymond, but just about as close as you can get. And he's someone that also appears to be okay with finding Steph whenever Steph has got it going. And that's something that, as much as it seems like a very obvious task, when Curry's hot, get him the ball, Jimmy is a smart enough player to find ways to open up things for Steph when he's hot. And he knows it's not his time. That is not its moment. It's Steph's. Tonight was Steph's night. It was his night to shoot the hell out of the basketball. And then in the final 2 minutes and 38 seconds, that was Jimmy's time to force contact, to get to the free throw line and help this team get the win. That's where he's different than other superstars. I feel like it doesn't really matter to him how they win a basketball game. It matters tonight that Steph had 52 points, and that is 100% fine by Jimmy Butler. And not every superstar is, I think is, I don't want to say is selfless, because I think Jimmy can be selfish on the court, but he knows when to pick his spots. And tonight he needed to down the stretch, and that was it. Steph was unreal, like literally from right out of the gates. And he said it during his postgame interview. If you let Memphis get ahead, they can dictate the tempo, just like they did the last time they were at FedEx Forum and they got beat by damn near 50 points. The Warriors had to come out firing, and they did. Steph, 11 minutes in the first quarter, and he was awesome. 14 points, hit his first 5 shots, 4 from three-point range. Curry ended up with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in the first quarter. Like, you could tell he was locked in from the beginning of this game and just continued to elevate his play. By halftime, he had 32. Took 16 shots in the first half, 8 of 10 from 3. Everything was going in that he was putting up. And it was Jimmy and Draymond and Pods and anyone else who was on the floor's job to get him the basketball when he needed to. And it's one of those performances the Warriors absolutely needed. And it's a performance that, to your point, Adam, puts him above the likes of LeBron, Kobe, Jordan when it comes to 50-point games at this age of 35 or more. He has as many 50-point games at age 35 or higher than LeBron, Kobe, and Jordan combined. Those 3, LeBron has 2, Kobe's got 1, MJ's got 1, Steph's got 4. That's the most ever. That's the kind of scorer that he is at this age still. And the Warriors are going to need him to continue to be that kind of player. And that's why they have a puncher's chance, in my opinion. That's why you cannot count them out, whether they go far or they don't. Steph Curry is the player that you do not want to see in a game that matters. And tonight was a game that mattered. And he showed you. He had 52, 10, and 9. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on 95.7 The Game. Right before we hit the break, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, an Odyssey Sports Station, always live in the free Odyssey app, and now broadcasting from the Laughing Monk Studios, Righteously Brewed in San Francisco. All right, we're going to hear from Steve Kerr after the break. Again, phone calls welcome, thoughts welcome. Hit the YouTube chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Evan Giddings on Warriors Wrap-Up. We're back after this.
I'm Brian Tedesco, CEO of Blau.
Left corner pocket. Warriors take the lead 121-120. Curry's got a 50-point game.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, Steph Curry, 52 at FedEx Forum tonight in Memphis. That call, by the way, from Tim Roy here on 95.7 The Game. Warriors 134, Grizzlies 125. This is Warriors Wrap Up. My name is Evan Giddings as Curry goes for his, 15th 50-point game. Passes Rick Barry. Also during the game, passed Jerry West for 25th all-time in NBA scoring. Now has 4 50-point games beyond the age of 35. That is most in the history of basketball. And also, oh, by the way, to boot, 12 three-pointers. Now 4 games that he has hit 12 three-pointers or more, which officially surpasses his former teammate and Splash brother Klay Thompson for the most prolific individual three-point shooting performances. The one he does not have over Klay, of course, is the all-time single-game three-point record, which is 14, which he admitted earlier that he was gunning for. He was going for it because he had 11, I think it was, going into that fourth quarter. He missed his first 3, and then, of course, he hit one from the corner, and that was his final shot. But yeah, Steph was all-time tonight. I think that's why the Warriors believe, as much as anything, they got action, along with now Jimmy Butler. Draymond Green had a triple-double in this game and might be third fiddle. Was a plus 13 right behind Steph's plus 17. He had 12 assists in this game, Draymond did. And I also felt like, the only thing you could probably nitpick is the fact that he took 7 threes, only made one of them. And I think the only one he made was the first one of the game that he took. After that, he missed his next 6. But Draymond was sensational all around. And I thought that he was really the only player that was able to kind of neutralize or make things difficult on for Jaren Jackson Jr., who is probably Memphis's most impactful player in the first half. And then Ja Morant was just unstoppable in this game, especially in the second half. And there were not many players on the Warriors that were keeping him in check. And every time Ja takes a 3, you're kind of saying, whew, all right, well, at least he's not getting into the paint. He was 5 of 8 from three-point range tonight. He had it going offensively. And if not for an 18-5 run by the Golden State Warriors over the last 3.5 minutes of this game, Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies might be the ones smiling in their locker room right now and not the Golden State Warriors. But 888-957-9570 is the number. Again, if you got any questions, any texts, feel free to bring them in at 888-957-9570 is the number. From the 510 and from the 925, pardon me, they'd be a bigger physical team. Shouldn't fans be excited? Well, you got a couple more bigger physical teams coming up, and that's kind of been the Warriors' Achilles heel the past few seasons. The Lakers, and more so the Nuggets, are really going to test them. And even Houston to some extent, even though they've had a lot of success against them this year. Also from the 925, playoff atmosphere game, and the caller wanted a blowout. That was before the break. Their playoff team with the higher standing all year. No, I didn't expect a blowout in this game. I mean, the Warriors still ended up covering, but this was a game that, again, was in the balance in clutch time. 5 minutes or less, 5-point game. The Warriors trailed by 4 with 3.5 minutes left. And not only did they not roll over, they seized control of this basketball game. And I thought they did enough defensively on a night where they couldn't stop a leak. I mean, 125 points felt like it could have been a lot more because the Warriors turned the faucet off down the stretch, used free throws to get to the line, had obviously a big tip in from Pods. I mean, despite Curry having 52 and hitting 12 threes, the majority of their points in the fourth quarter did not come from 3-point range. They came at the free throw line, they came on second chance opportunities, and a couple of timely shots. Pods with a big putback, Moody with a big corner three, ironically, but Jimmy with big free throws, 6 of which in the final 2.5 minutes. All right, let's go to, if we can, Cam, let's go to Roque in Alameda before we get to Steve Kerr. Roque, what's going on? How we doing?
Yes, hi, good evening. Yes, I'm a late caller here. I just want to bring this up. The foul that Kerr was getting and not getting called, and I figure that if would have had he might have had eight fouls there, and did not get. He got 2 calls at the pretty much, I think, the late one, but I think he would have had 60 points. Maybe he would have had 14 threes tonight. I mean, he was nice and calm, and he was saying, "Wow, I'm not getting any of this call." He was getting robbed there by especially John Morant and Baines, and also one call that referee missed a lot of calls there is on Moody when he got pushed by John Morant. That was a big push. And they just ignored that one there. The referee, we're not getting respect in this referees nowadays. I don't know why, but I'm happy we got the win. And Curry, God, this guy is something else. So thank you for taking my call.
Appreciate it, okay. Yeah, I mean, fouls are going to be a part of this game. I think a lot of people are going to talk about. And watching the game, it was extremely physical. And the Warriors certainly could have gotten a few more fouls, but I mean, they almost had an equal amount of fouls called on them tonight as Memphis. 22 for the Warriors, 23 for the Grizzlies. They actually had one more foul called against them. So, yeah, I mean, they got to the free throw line more than Memphis did. I don't know. I mean, it is a game that it felt like the Warriors were getting hacked a bit more, specifically Steph, but they still found a way to win this game. And, I hate to break it to people. It feels like this is something that we're going to talk about even more so as the playoffs come around. And I think that's where Jimmy adds a different dynamic to this group, because Jimmy is someone that, whether calls are going his team's way or not, he's someone that is grift proof. Like, he gets to the free throw line when he wants to. And he's also someone that drives a lot more than someone like Curry. Not that you have to be to necessarily get free throws, but of his 31 shots, 20 of which were from 3-point range, that leaves you 11 twos to try and get fouled. I don't know. I mean, it might have been unfair tonight. Not saying it wasn't. But that's just something that, it's literally followed him his entire career. I guess I'm not going to get my panties in a bunch about it, because that's just an understanding that Curry does not get a foul call the way that other superstars do. And I'm not sure if it's because he shoots a lot more threes. I don't know if it's because he doesn't foul bait the way that other top players around the league do, which I actually appreciate about his game. And maybe it's because he's also stronger and doesn't, I don't know, against other guards appear to be fouled. I'm not sure. I don't really want to get into it because Warriors fans just get pissed off anytime you say that Curry does or doesn't get a whistle. So let's just go to August in East Oakland, talk about the Warriors. Well, let's get back into the game. August, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Well, one, did everybody see Piles jump over Ja Morant?
I know I did.
My boy, Air Piles. I wanted to speak on something to really kind of ask a question. You might have some insight. I see a guy on the bench who's always smiling, always cheering on the team, but I can't figure out why he's not getting playing time, and that's TJD. Can you tell me what's going on with TJD? Because he's an excellent center. I know he's a little bit undersized, but just from his last season highlights and early this season and blocking Giannis and all those super defensive plays, I'm trying to figure out why Kirk can't fit him into the lineup.
So, August, stay with me here. I think the reason why is because, would you agree that the Warriors play or have played their best when they're smaller, like Draymond's playing center?
It's hard to use the word best because it seems to me like every now and then he just throws together a lineup that works, and I don't know if it has anything to do with the size necessarily, because it could be with a 7-footer out there with hitting threes and Kuminga flying in, crashing the glass. So I don't look at this as undersized when we're playing good necessarily. I think it's just all about matchups.
Okay, I got you. I mean, I think it's because between Draymond, Looney, and Trace Jackson Davis, at least the way that they've been playing since Jimmy's gotten here, there's really only room for 2 of those 3. And I don't know if you feel, I mean, maybe in some matchups TJD could be better, but I feel like in most scenarios, people are going to lean towards Draymond and Kevon. Would you consider that fair?
For sure. And I'm not, Kevon, I'm always comfortable him anchoring at the center position. It's just, I just don't understand why every other player has been getting worked into the rotation to an extent, and it seems like it's purposely that he's getting DNPs. And I don't know if it doesn't seem like it's like a disciplinary thing because he's always on the sideline smiling. He's been the best, supporter of the team from the bench from what I can see. It just seems weird. He seems like a lot of talent just to waste because you want to play small ball.
I got you. I mean, and thanks for the call, August. Look, it's a good question. I think that I actually think that there is going to be a time when they're going to need Trace Jackson Davis. Like, if you're going to make a deep postseason run, you're going to need at some point someone off the bench who's unexpected to make plays. And it's going to be because someone gets into foul trouble, or it's going to be because maybe you need to play him against a more athletic big. I'm not so sure. But in general, I think the Warriors have proven with Jimmy Butler that they're at their best when Butler or Moody, those 2 forwards, are 3 and 4, and Draymond's at the 5. And that just means that there's not a lot of minutes at the center position for other players. And the guy who's in front of TJD right now is Kevon Looney. And Steve Kerr's someone that relies a lot on his veterans. And to his credit, Looney's been in the trenches. He's had a lot of big moments in big games now for, going back at almost a decade. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I can understand why you might feel like, Trace should be getting some run when other players are, around the roster. Tonight was also a bit condensed, and maybe perhaps a postseason preview. Like, I think GP2 obviously fits in for the Warriors. I thought they missed him tonight. That's someone that you could deploy on Ja Morant, who was just giving the work to everybody. Like, I love Moses Moody, but he cannot guard Ja Morant. And Jonathan Kuminga probably would have played in this game. If he'd had it going, may have earned more minutes, but I think that would have been an option considering Moody wasn't playing great in the first half. And overall, your 2 out of your 3 starters were not very good for the majority of this game, the other one being Pods. Really, Steph, Draymond, and Butler, I thought, carried them in this game, and obviously Steph had the majority of the load on his shoulders. But everyone else on this roster, Buddy made a couple of big plays. Quentin Post hit all of his threes, I think, in the first half. But for the most part, it was on the shoulders of the big three, and I don't think that's really going to change. All right, let's go out to Brett on the Bay Bridge. Brett, what's going on, man? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up. How are you?
Man, that was what a game. I mean, that had playoff intensity all over it. I mean, from start to finish, yeah, the Warriors got up early, like that 15-point lead, I think it was, or maybe a little bit more. But Memphis, they were just right there, nipping on the heels the whole game. And what I liked about it was the fact that the Warriors held them off down the stretch. So they both couldn't score down the fourth quarter, and I knew Memphis played yesterday. So I said, if the Warriors can just get a little bit above, man, they're going to be able to finish this game off. But can I say something? Jimmy needs to really – I know his game is to drive and, hit the perimeter shots, but he's got to go take some practice on the three-point shots because those look like just straight ducks that he's throwing up there. But anyway, thanks for taking my call, guys. No,
of course, Brett. Thanks for the call. Look, it was an awesome game. It was an intense game. It felt like a playoff game. Now, it wasn't a playoff game. If you ask Jimmy Butler, I'm sure he'd tell you, like he has in the past, this was not a playoff game, but it felt like one. And I think maybe more so than a postseason kind of atmosphere, this was a must-win for both of these teams. And that's why if you're thinking about games that the Warriors have to get, this gives you confidence that down the line they can do that because they're going to play better teams. There's no doubt about that. But without Jimmy or before Jimmy Butler got here, they had no chance of winning a game like this, even if they needed it. And I think without him, without what Draymond did tonight, even Curry's 52 might have gone wasted, quite honestly. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Warriors are finding a way to piece together these victories because, and this is sort of what I've taken away so far for overall what I've seen since they've gotten Butler. But in a game like this where Curry has it going, Curry's 52 points and the elite level of play that he is able to continue to summon at age 37 means that you have a puncher's chance in any playoff game, thus any playoff series, I believe. That's why you can't count them out. But the combination of Curry, Jimmy, and Draymond, you have a big three that complements each other in just about every aspect of the game because Curry's someone that we saw tonight carry the baton, again, for 95 meters of the 100-meter dash. Jimmy Butler, I thought, got them to the finish line. Draymond Green as a whole was the most impactful player on the defensive end. And so those three guys together, if they're able to stay healthy, if Father Time doesn't catch up with them, I think more so in fatigue than injury, but all three of those guys together are so complementary that the Warriors have an opportunity to walk into any gym and feel like that they can win. And if Steph, that's why I also think that the week that Steph got off because of the pelvic contusion, that was massive. Is that something that's going to, is rest something that you're going to have to factor in as you get to the final week of the season? Is rest the most important thing in regards to the playoffs in that first round series? That week off that you get if you are a top 6 seed might be the most important thing that the Warriors can acquire at this point because we just saw Steph. Yes, he came back and I think it was against, just want to double check his, the game log that he had. Curry against, it was the Pelicans. First game he came back, he was rusty, 5 of 16 from 3. But then the Spurs didn't play that much. And then tonight was really, I feel like, the game that he was getting himself ready for after that injury. But between March 17th actually, and March 28th, he only played one game. It was just that game against the Raptors, played 25 minutes, ho-hum, 17 points, got in, got out. But that week off was massive for Curry. And I think you saw it tonight with how much energy he had left. And how much energy he has left for the remainder of this season is probably going to determine how far the Warriors go. Can they build in some rest at the end of this regular season? Can they get to the 6 and get that week off and make sure that Steph is fresh for that first round postseason series? Because then you don't get any breaks. You got to roll for a month, perhaps even 2 months if you're playing deep into the playoffs. So the chef looked fresh tonight, just like some of the vegetables he was cooking up in the kitchen. All right, let's wrap with Chardol and Fremont if we can, Cam. Chardol, what's going on? You're on 95.7 The Game.
Hey, Evan, it's great calling to the show. I'm a big fan of you. I listen to 95.7 The Game every time I listen to the car after Warriors win. The big three consisting of Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green all combined for 92 points, the most points combined by any big three duo. I think this was a great win. I mean, the Warriors, I'm a big fan of the Warriors. I mean, I go to their games every single day. I love this team so much. They just work so well together, man. This is one of the most exciting teams I've ever seen in all of basketball. The Warriors are so great. I really want them, and they're just a great team to see them play on the court. And we got 7 games left, so we gotta try and win all those 7 games if we want to go on a postseason run. But I love your show, man. I love everything you do covering the Warriors, man. You're a GOAT. You're OG. I love everything you do, man. I'll try and call every time on the show. Thanks for having me on the show, and I'll definitely call next time on Warriors Wrap Up.
Right
I love
on,
everything
Charnel.
you do, man. Keep up the good work, bro.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Although, OG. Damn, Cam. I'm not that old. Cam, by the way, crack the mic. How old are you? Oh, my bad. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I am 31.
Okay, so we're basically the same age. Have you ever been called an OG before?
Actually, yes. I've been called an OG. I've been called an old head, and I'm still trying to get used to it because I still feel young. And there's people older than us who are the actual old heads.
Exactly.
Even sometimes they might even throw an unk, and I'm like, hold on, I'm not an unk yet, not just yet.
I mean, I'm a little uncle. I got 2 nephews and a niece, but not yet. I got a couple. I got a couple more years left. I don't know, Cam. OG. Oh my God. Yeah, like 30 years old. Now, I will say I've always been the oldest guy at a party because I fall asleep early. But, nah. Chardol, I appreciated every single word except for those 2 letters. Call in anytime. Love you, man. Let's go out to, let's get Steve Kerr in if we can, Cam. Let's hook up Steve Kerr right now and the head coach of the Golden State Warriors after the win.
I mean, the guy's 37 years old. It's incredible. 52 points with people draped all over him all game long. The conditioning, the skill, the audacity, the belief. It's just incredible to watch Steph at work. I mean, I can't believe he's still doing this at this age, but he's put the work in and he still got it.
How much do you think that week off he just had maybe boosted him a little bit?
I think it helped, and I think 2 rounds of golf on this road trip helped. Yeah, I'm only half joking. The week off was helpful for him. I think he looks recharged, rejuvenated, and he just. I think the last time he was here, he didn't make a field goal. I guarantee that was on his mind. We lost by 50 or something, and we know how they like to guard him. They've done a great job on him. They've done a great job on us. The first 3 games of the year, we averaged, I think, 19 turnovers against them, and tonight only 11. And I feel like there was a really concerted effort to execute and get organized and stay poised. And for the most part, I loved the way we played throughout. We had a couple of bad spells, but it was really a solid effort. It's an amazing game. I mean, both teams played at a really high level. They made 18 threes. Ja was unstoppable. So, great game, and we were fortunate to come out on top, but we made big plays down the stretch to make it happen.
Feel like a playoff game?
It did. Felt like one, and obviously the implications were huge. Now they got to beat us by 2 games here over the last 7 to catch us. So that's helpful for us, and we're obviously fighting it out with Minnesota, with the Clippers, and you never know what happens with anybody. So you got to handle your own business.
You mentioned the last time you were here. How long ago does that feel?
How
just long ago yeah. Does that feel?
Completely different team. Jimmy saved our season. The trade saved our season. Everybody knows that, but you watch what he did tonight, 12 for 12 from the line. Steph goes off the floor. We're running everything through him. Just a big-time defender, big-time two-way player. And, Jimmy has made the rest of the pieces fit. Moses, BP, Gee, Quentin. It's just the roster makes sense. We got guys who are competitive and tough and smart, and they're, as Steph talked about, he wanted to play meaningful basketball again, and he's getting to do that. We're all getting to do that, and it's a lot of fun.
Sorry about that, Cam. Caught me red-handed. Yeah, no, I think, look, I think Steve has kind of echoed a lot of stuff we've been talking about, right? The playoff atmosphere in Memphis, a spot that Curry did not play well the last time, had that on his mind. I don't think anybody foresaw the 52 points that he was going to come out and just, lambaste the Grizzlies with. The other part about it, too, which we haven't actually touched on, is the fact that it was absolutely necessary. You look at that halftime score, and I think they're up 7. Curry had 35, and it was like they needed every single shot to go in. They needed every single point that he poured in tonight in order to win this game. And that's where Curry, as well as Jimmy, but sticking with Steph, is also, I don't know if the competitive aspect, like Jimmy gets talked about all the time as this just uber competitor. He'll do anything to win. Well, I know that Steph, he might not be someone that's going to get you 5 blocks. Tonight he had 5 steals. He had also had 10 rebounds and 9 assists. But he might not be the guy that's going to get you double-digit rebounds or double-digit assists every single night. He does it more with his three-point shot and his scoring and the space that he creates and the attention that he draws. But he will do what it takes to win. This guy wants it as bad as anybody. And so just because he's smaller and he's the nice guy and he doesn't complain about all the calls. Tonight he did get into it with the interim head coach for Memphis on that sideline and got into it a little bit, I think, with Santi Aldama. Like, he's still a killer. And I think we were reminded of that again tonight. And that's why the Warriors got a shot. It's because of that dude and the rest of the big three that I think are proving that they still have something left in the tank. All right, so if you have any more calls, let's get them in before we get out of here. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you. Let's go to Philmo Mike. Philmo, what's up, my man? What's going on?
Hey, man. Great game. Man, the reason I became a Warrior fan is because the Warriors had like a mania, like they would go up and down. They're a roller coaster, and it's kind of fun. So like, I just want to tell people, man, appreciate Steph. We didn't have a lot of great players, Chris Mullin, whoever, Monte Ellis, Baron Davis, but man, we watched it something special, man, and it's almost like Jordan-esque or Kobe Bryant-esque, and he's efficient with his game. Stephen Curry ain't like, he just ain't throwing up 45 shots like Kobe. He's very efficient. So, or Reggie Miller back in the day. Reggie used to go like 9 for 25. He only had 30, but it's like it wasn't too effective. Anyway, with that being said, I'm sorry I hate to ramble. I love the intensity of the game. I love that. And I got a question, Grandy. Why did Taylor Jenkins get fired? Because, honestly, he was a problem.
Philmo, it's Giddings. Come on, man.
Oh, my bad, Giddings. My bad, bro. I get y'all mixed up kind of on some real talk.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
My bad. Please forgive me. And I hate that. I'm bad with names in general. Giddings. Evan Giddings. Please forgive me. But why did Taylor Jenkins get fired? Like, I literally did a Google search. I asked ChatGPT or Google, like, why did he get fired? He was a great coach. We need to pick him up for real. Pick him up.
Well, I do think he's a good coach, but I think in Philmo it's because of what you saw tonight. Like, Ja Morant was averaging 24 points per game, and his percentages haven't been outstanding. Like, their offense before is, and honestly, it kind of moved a little bit or more, at least from what I was reading, more towards a motion offense. Like, the amount of time that Ja had the ball in his hands was the least amount he's ever had it. So he's in less control of the ball. It's less pick and roll. It's a lot more movement, up and down threes. And I think it's because of kind of the way that the NBA is going, but that's not the way that Ja Morant wants to play. And so from my understanding is they hired the 2 assistant coaches that remained on staff, and the one that became the interim were the guys that were brought in by the general manager. And then Taylor Jenkins and his other staff members were let go, and that was the brain trust of this new offense. And is an offense that it might be optimal for other players, but it didn't sound like it was optimal for Ja Morant. And when you're beholden to a superstar, good or bad, I think Morant's a hell of a talent. I know he's been involved in a lot of off-the-court issues, and his dad being there at the game, who, by the way, tonight was like coaching on the sideline. Ja Morant was doing the gun sign to the Warriors, and like Buddy Hield was doing it back to him. I think Draymond Green was doing it at some point. Morant's he's contentious, but he's a damn good player. You saw it tonight. And I think tonight is how Morant wants the offense to work, which is give me the ball, put it in pick and roll. I'm getting by anybody. You have no one on the other team, at least tonight for the Warriors, that is going to guard me. And I'm going to get my 30 or 36 in this case, and that's how things should be. But Taylor Jenkins saw things differently. And the front office basically saw the writing on the wall, which was this team is now 11-24 against teams above 500. They're probably not going to make a deep postseason run or win multiple rounds in the playoffs, which is what they have yet to do to this point during a stretch of basketball in which they've been, in terms of the regular season, they've been a really good team. They've played and had 50-win seasons, and under Jenkins, they've been successful, but they haven't been a serious team considered a contender outside of probably 2022 when they lost to the Warriors in 6 and Ja got hurt. So my guess would be, to sort of sum it up, Taylor Jenkins got fired because he did not meet the expectation of what a lot of people in Memphis believe to be a talented team, and he wasn't, essentially maximizing the talents of his superstar. I think that's usually what it comes down to. In a lot of situations, coaches get fired or players get traded because of one or the other. And honestly, you're going to side with the guy that you paid a lot of money to. Ja Morant's a max salary player. Taylor Jenkins is not a max salary head coach, though I think to your point, he's a good one. And he's probably going to have a job soon. I don't know if it's as a head coach, but I would imagine as an assistant, because I do think that he's someone that is respected around the league. All right. The other part, too, you mentioned, Filmo, just about Curry. And, I guess my final message of tonight is watching this game. It was fun for a lot of reasons. It was intense. It was competitive, high-level shot-making, playoff-level atmosphere, I would argue, at the FedEx Forum in a game that both teams felt like they had to win. Not must-wins, but a game that you had to get if you want to get out of the play-in. And the Warriors came out guns blazing. They looked that way tonight. And Curry was at the forefront of it. Curry, in the very first quarter, came out and led the way with 19 points out of the 45, season high for the Warriors. He had 5 threes. At half, he had 8, 32 total points, and of course, he ends with 52. Curry's performance tonight, it just continues to defy age, Father Time, and it's the reason why the Warriors, while they might not be surefire, bulletproof contenders, they're a team that's looked at as dangerous and one that you do not want to play in a 7-game series. Because if that guy has the ability to score 50 points at the age of 37, which now beyond 35, he has done more than anyone else in the history of basketball, that's someone you do not want to see and someone that can win you a game and a series. Combined with the fact now that he can keep you in it and create a 2-minute game in which now you have, I think, the perfect 3 players, at least the most optimal that we've seen over the last, since the championship run, quite frankly. You have the perfect 3 players for a 2-minute game. Draymond Green, who can still summon all-NBA level defense. You have Jimmy Butler, who can get to the free throw line seemingly at will, make smart plays on defense like that steal he had on Morant, and simplify the game for someone like Curry, who can either be a closer or someone that takes enough attention away from everyone else to allow someone to hit the dagger shot like Moses Moody did with 40 seconds left. And those 3 players, Curry, Butler, and Green, if you get them into a 2-minute game, I do think they have a chance against anybody. Whether they get to that point is up to them. And tonight, it took 52 points, the majority of which before, but it took 52 from Curry to get to that point. And he was the best player on the floor. But Jimmy closed the game. Draymond was the defensive linchpin. And those 3 players together is why people are calling in talking about postseason this, championship that. I'm not there yet. You got 3 really good teams upcoming that are going to test you. The Lakers, the Nuggets, and the Rockets. But if the Warriors can pass 1, potentially 2 of those tests, and those 3 players, Curry, Butler, and Green, can be at the forefront of it, I do think this is a team you have to consider scary in a very good Western Conference. And that's why they won tonight. And that's why they're now the 5 seed. So 888-957-9570 is the number. I see you, Phil. I'm just joshing with you. Yeah, I appreciate all the calls tonight. Everybody chiming in on the Comcast Business text line, or just on the text line. YouTube chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union. All, of course, right here from our Laughing Monk Studios at 95.7 The Game. Big thank you to my guy Cam Williams, our Warriors Network coordinator. Big thank you to Chris O'Connell, chopping things up, making things sound fantastic for you, as well as tomorrow. All the sound you're going to hear, Curry postgame, Kerr postgame, Draymond, everybody who's talked. From 6 to 10, I think Joe Spadoni is back alongside Joe Shasky. Obviously, Stein and Guru from 10 to 2, and then Willer and Dibbs from 2 to 6. Keep it locked right here on 95.7 The Game. Thank you to everybody that tuned in tonight. 134-125, Warriors, the 5 seed in the West. Good times. Can they keep it rolling on Thursday? I'll talk to you then when they get the Lakers and LeBron James. Another big matchup coming your way. But as for tonight, the Warriors are winners, and they get a big one, a much-needed one. And that'll do it for me. My name is Evan Giddings. Thank you for tuning into Warriors Wrap-Up. All right, here in your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game. Take it easy.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke.